people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Well guys, it's official. D-Day has come and gone. It's gone past 5 o'clock Monday. No contract has been signed. It's officially over for Joshua. He is now out in the cold with the Wolfpack. Forget about it. Idiot. Coward. Shithouse. Bodybuilder. Always knew it. Always knew he didn't have the minerals to fight the Gypsy King. Regardless of what the fuck you say now, I don't really care. Good luck with your career and your life. End of. Peace out.
And so, based on the deadline that Tyson Fury set himself for Anthony Joshua negotiations to cease, based on a deadline that he set himself, that fight has collapsed. That quote-unquote fight and that quote-unquote offer. That fight and that offer that both Queensberry and Matchroom were supposed to be ironing out today. You know, initially what I thought that Tyson was being an opportunist. An opportunist in the sense that he chooses now to fight Anthony Joshua when he's coming off of 2 consecutive losses. But then I thought to myself, how could Tyson Fury make Anthony Joshua an offer like this and actually expect him to accept it? Accept an offer for a fight like this off of 2 consecutive losses? Tyson Fury. He was expecting Anthony and Eddie and the people at Matchroom to agree to this, to say yes. Then I thought to myself, no, he couldn't have thought that. He couldn't have anticipated that they would agree to all of this under these circumstances, because anybody that knows boxing knows if you're coming off of 2 back-to-back losses, that's the worst time to take on a fight like this. You can schedule a tune-up fight, an easy one, a confidence-building fight in a situation like that, but not another title fight. So then I get to thinking, Tyson Fury made Anthony this offer so he could either catch him at a very opportune time to catch him, or to make him look bad. To make him look bad if he can't catch him, at which point he will try to sell his fans, those BT Sport customers, he'll try to sell them something else, a Mahmoud Charr fight. And he'll try to sell them a Mahmoud Charr fight as a box office fight, as a pay-per-view. Even though a Mahmoud Charr fight isn't a box office fight. It's not pay-per-view worthy. It's not the same situation that we saw with Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte, who has fought on box office fights and pay-per-views several times in the United Kingdom. He has his own fans that purchase his pay-per-views. No, this is different from that. People in the UK are not interested in seeing Mahmoud Charr, let alone seeing someone with Tyson Fury's stature. An unbeaten 2-time heavyweight champion fighting Mahmoud Charr? That's not box office. It's not. How the hell are you supposed to sell that to the Brits? And I'll tell you how you sell it to the Brits. You make them think that you tried to do a better fight, but the other guy chickened out. You make them think you were going to fight Anthony Joshua, but Anthony didn't want no parts of you. And this guy did. That's how you do it.
Anthony Pussywa, you have the chance to fight the best WBC heavyweight champion Tyson Fury. Sign the paper. If not, go out and let Will's men fight. Tyson Fury. Come on.
Now, why would Mahmoud Charr, who not but a few days ago posted this image to his social media telling Tyson Fury that he would see him and meet him on December 3rd, why would Mahmoud Charr, of all people, urge Anthony Joshua to sign the contract when if he signs the contract, you're out of a title shot? Why would Mahmoud Charr, of all people, want Anthony to sign? You got a lot of opportunities like this coming your way. Mahmoud Charr, outside of this voluntary defense, is miles away from fighting for an alphabet title. He's not a mandatory for any alphabet title at this time. None of them. And, you know, he'd have to go through Hrgovic by way of the IBF, Dubois by way of the WBA, Joyce by way of the WBO, Wilder by way of the WBC. This guy's nowhere near a title shot by way of the mandatory process. He's not. For Mahmoud Charr, or Mahmoud, as he likes to call himself, this is a major opportunity for him to fight for a title, get the chance to fight for one, and it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for him. So why would Mahmoud, of all people, be urging Anthony Joshua to sign on the dotted line when, if he does, you're out of a title shot, my friend?
I'll tell you why. It's because he knows he's getting the shot anyway.
He knows he's getting the shot. He's always known he was getting the shot. And what he's doing here is hamming it up for the cameras in order to make Anthony Joshua look bad and make himself look worthy, stepping up to the plate and taking on the guy that Anthony avoided. That's what all of this is, and you can expect in the build-up of what is to be Fury versus Charr, you can expect that Anthony Joshua's name is going to get thrown around quite a bit, even though, according to Tyson Fury, Anthony's out of the picture.
I'll bet she's gonna bring him up.
Because it's more simple than it sounds.
It is.
It was always Tyson Fury's intention to fight Mahmoud Charr, but Tyson Fury and his people knew a Mahmoud Charr fight, that ain't box office, that's a tough sell. How do you sell that thing? I'll tell you how. You make it seem like you tried to do a better fight, but the other guy chickened out, so you ended up with Mahmoud instead.
Now, that doesn't do much in terms of marketability for Mahmoud Charr, or this fight for that matter.
But they had to try something, because Fury versus Charr at the box office is a tough sell. In other news, the rumor mill is spinning, and what it's spinning is that Tommy Fury, Tyson Fury's younger brother, is reportedly in negotiations for a Tyron Woodley fight on the undercard of Mayweather versus Deji in November. Floyd Mayweather, who was in action this past weekend in the land of the rising sun in Japan against Asakura, who he stopped in what was supposed to be an exhibition match. I didn't realize that you could knock somebody out in what's supposed to be an exhibition.
I thought an exhibition was supposed to be just a glorified sparring session, but, you know, he stopped the guy.
And his next exhibition is supposed to be already en route, with KSI's younger brother, social media influencer KSI, his younger brother, Deji. And this is supposed to be on the undercard of that fight, or that exhibition, or that circus, whatever you want to call it. What does it communicate about the legitimacy of Tommy Fury as a boxer and his quote-unquote boxing career that
Tommy Fury, unbeaten guy, still an unbeaten guy with under 10 fights.
what you normally see in this stage of a pugilist's career, a serious pugilist, are developmental fights with seasoned journeymen and fighters of that ilk. Fighters that the young fighter, the unbeaten fighter, the prospect, the way that Tommy's a prospect, fighters that need to get rounds in the bank and need to gain experience as fighters, facing some resistance in the ring.
That's what you normally see, but Tommy Fury, if he ends up fighting Tyron Woodley, he's fighting a former MMA champion.
A UFC guy who lost a decision in the boxing ring to a YouTuber, a UFC guy who was knocked out by a YouTuber in their rematch. Now you tell me, what can Tommy Fury aspire to learn in the ring with a fighter like this?
In what way is fighting Tyron Woodley, an MMA fighter, conducive towards Tommy's development as a boxer?
Tommy Fury, who is reportedly still eager to face Jake Paul, he needs a good dance partner. And for what it's worth, he actually has one. He has a good dance partner for his next upcoming fight in Anderson Silva, who, while he is a famous mixed martial artist, and that's what he's known for, he has a more credible victory in the squared circle, inside the ring. He has a more credible victory than any victory you'll find on Tommy Fury's resume. Lest we forget, Anderson Silva
has a recorded win over Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a former champion.
And we can nitpick about where Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was in his career when Anderson Silva fought him. We can nitpick about Junior's work ethic, and
we can put all of that under a magnifying glass, and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. will still be a better name and a better fighter than any fighter that Tommy Fury has fought so far.
What does it say about Tommy Fury's boxing career and the legitimacy of it that a former MMA champion, a UFC fighter in, what is he, in his 50s?
I think so.
A guy in his 50s, an MMA guy who crossed over to boxing, is fighting better boxers than Tommy Fury. And what does it say that Jake Paul, a YouTuber, is fighting that guy, Anderson Silva? Jake Paul really is fighting a better fighter.
In case you haven't wrapped your minds around this yet, if Tommy Fury fights Tyron Woodley, he'd essentially be fighting Jake Paul's sloppy seconds.
And while there might be a financial incentive for him to do so, better still, that would have to mean that he is not in a developmental stage of his career, not anymore. What would he be developing fighting the likes of Tyron Woodley? It stands to reason that he would essentially be trying to merge into a lane that Jake Paul and other social media influencers like him, he would essentially be trying to merge into a lane that he didn't create, merge into a lane that Jake Paul carved out for himself. That's what he would essentially be doing. Thus, he can't really be taken seriously as a serious pugilist and a serious prize fighter if that's the lane that he's perusing.
That lane is reserved for B and C-list celebrities and influencers.
Is that what Tommy Fury is? A B-lister, C-lister?
I thought he was supposed to be like a serious pugilist or something, serious prospect.
He's a Fury of the fighting Furies. No man born of his brother.
His mother.
Something like that. I mean, how serious a boxing career is this?
Well, it's kind of self-explanatory, ain't it?
As far as Jake Paul's upcoming fight with former mixed martial arts legend Anderson Silva, who has at least one more credible win in the squared circle than either Jake Paul or Tommy Fury, it's supposed to be going down the same day as Vasyl Lomachenko's ring return on ESPN, the biggest sports network in this country, whereas Jake's next fight is a pay-per-view. I don't know at this time how big or small an issue that might be, because
it's not like the people that follow Jake Paul and tune into his fights are diehard boxing fans.
Not necessarily. While Jake Paul may have announced himself to the boxing world, the boxing community at large, and all of that, boxing fans, true blue boxing fans in all likelihood, won't purchase the pay-per-view and will instead be tuning into Lomachenko's ring return. Serious boxing fans, traditional ones that want to see traditional boxing, whereas Jake
carved out a lane for himself based on the audience that he already had, which is why I never took issue with any of his matches.
Jake Paul came into the sport with millions upon millions of followers, and those are the individuals who are most interested in what he's doing and who he's fighting and all of that.
So I don't necessarily know that Vasyl Lomachenko fighting that same night will affect the buy rate for his fight, because that would imply that he's sharing an audience with Lomachenko.
And I don't really think he is. I mean, hardcore boxing fans might know who Vasyl Lomachenko is. You know, true blue boxing fans that keep up with the sport and all of that. Whereas Jake's popularity and Jake's notoriety comes from a different audience entirely.
If you ask your hardcore boxing fan which one of these events they're going to be tuning into the night of, they're going to be watching the Vasyl Lomachenko fight. For a boxing fan, it's a very easy decision to make.
Tack on that one fight will be shown by way of ESPN at no additional charge, and one fight is a pay-per-view. Well, that just makes it that much easier for that traditional boxing fan to make their decision, whereas the selling point for Jake and his event are those who follow him and those who followed the career of Anderson Silva, those crossover MMA fans who might want to tune in to see if Anderson is the one that can get the job done. Can he succeed where Ben Askren and Tyron Woodley failed? To those fans, the fight might be attractive, it might be appealing, but as far as boxing fans, traditional boxing fans, in the traditional sense of the word, in all likelihood, they're going to watch the Loma fight.
They are. And it may or may not have any effect on Jake Paul's numbers or his fight, because I reiterate, his fight isn't necessarily marketed towards your conventional, traditional boxing fan.
I will admit this is an interesting choice. Anderson Silva, who does have a credible win over a former champion in Julio Cesar Chavez Jr.
You get the sense that Anderson knows his way around the ring at least a little better than Ben Askren, at least a little better than Tyron Woodley.
There's actually intrigue in association with this fight, and I'll be honest with you, if not for the Lomachenko fight happening that same night, I might have bought this thing. I might have.
In any event, it's not a foregone conclusion that Jake Paul and Lomachenko, for example, share an audience.
In all actuality, they don't. And finally, in men's heavyweight news, Dan Canoli. Canolini of CompuBox posted a tweet that reads, "I desperately need to see what would happen if Deontay Wilder landed a right hand on Joe Joyce's chin on the heels of Joe's biggest win, a signature win, and a statement win, being the first one to stop former champion Joseph Parker, who's never been stopped. There seems to be a growing demand for a Joe Joyce versus Deontay Wilder fight. And because Shelly Finkel and Frank Warren are good friends with each other and have exhibited a good working relationship in the past, I said it before and I'll say it again, this fight is a possibility.
I wouldn't dismiss this.
A transatlantic pay-per-view between them. You know, BT gets the rights in the UK, Showtime gets the rights in the US, or Fox if they decide to stay in boxing. In any event, it could happen. Boxing insider Rick Glacier says, would really like to see a fight between Juggernaut Joe Joyce and Deontay Wilder. It would be absolutely sensational. I hope no one is in query on who wins, as this would be Wilder's third KO loss. All to Brett.
Is that what would happen?
Well, let's put it this way. Joe Joyce has exhibited a good chin. At least up until this point he has. Though Joseph Parker isn't the puncher that Deontay Wilder is. I mean, you might be able to stand up to Daniel Dubois' best and Joseph Parker's best. Bryant Jennings, Carlos Takam, and those guys. But none of those guys have the reputation that Wilder has.
None of those guys are one-hitter-quitter guys.
Joe Joyce doesn't have the best head movement. That's why those shots end up landing. That's why those big shots end up finding a home. And he's shown good durability, good punch resistance up until this point. But because he doesn't move his head much, there is a chance that Wilder lands that right hand. And if he does, the question is, can Joe stand up to it? Because if he can, Wilder's in a world of trouble. Wilder would be in a world of hurt if he could march through that cannon.
I feel like we're getting ahead of ourselves because Deontay Wilder has to rebound first and show what he has left.
At minimum, I think he can beat Robert Helenius, and he would presumably then move into an Andy Ruiz fight.
Wilder versus Joyce as a fight would then become a viable option after that, I think.
Because, like I said, Shelly Finkel and Frank Warren are actually good friends, and they're the ones that made the first Wilder versus Fury fight amongst themselves. This is yet another fight they could make amongst themselves. And like I said, if Joe Joyce can take Wilder's best,
he'd get mid-range to inside on him the same way he got mid-range to inside on Joseph Parker and beat him from the inside out.
Wilder's no good on the back foot. He needs enough room and enough real estate to get full extension on that arm and fire that right-hand cannon of his. But if he ain't got no space to throw it,
he's fucked.
Because he's no good on the back foot and he's no good mid-range to inside. Wilder needs enough room and real estate to straighten out that arm and get off those straight shots. If Joe takes his best and keeps marching forward,
he would receive a similar or even worse beating than what he received at the hands of Tyson Fury.
It is a genuinely intriguing fight because the question here is, can Joe Joyce really stand up to Deontay Wilder's power when put to the test against a big puncher, a real big puncher? Is Joe really the juggernaut?
Hey, listen, he landed that right hand on Tyson Fury 4 times, and Tyson Fury's harder to hit than Joe Joyce.
It's not a question of whether or not he can actually land that punch. In all likelihood, he would. It's what happens after that.
That's the question.